Hi, everyone. Welcome to my I Love Learning podcast. I'm super excited today. If you don't know Laura, you're going to know her after our phone call or after our video call today. Laura, thank you so much for joining me on my podcast today.
I'm excited. I always like talking about learning and inspiring and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. Well, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone who's out there listening and really share what you're passionate about? I know Laura has had over 2 decades in transportation and has done so much for the transportation industry and even beyond. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you're passionate about?
Okay, fantastic. Well, my name is Laura Duryea, and I probably should have put that on my little title thing. I
Ah,
wasn't thinking about that. But anyway, my name is Laura Duryea, and I am the Director of Driver Recruitment and Professional Growth at Boyle Transportation. That's my current position. It is a new title, and I started in 1993 as a
mm,
driver.
mm.
So once I graduated Carnegie Mellon, I was a viola performance major. So the Bachelor of Fine Arts in viola
Wow.
performance is what I did there at Carnegie Mellon. During that time, I was driving the shuttle for the school and delivering students to their homes. So I knew that
Mm,
I could handle a larger vehicle. I had graduated. I knew that I didn't want to go into music because I didn't like the political nature of music, and I
got
I, I
it.
wasn't crazy about the actual having to audition.
Oh.
And I didn't like that. So I knew that I wasn't going to go into music. I had friends that played for like five different symphonies and they were struggling to pay rent. I'm like, there has to be a better way. So I had graduated. I didn't know what I was going to do. I saw a commercial for Pittsburgh Diesel Institute, which is now closed apparently.
Oh. Hmm.
And I'm like, I should just go check that out. So I checked it out and they're like, okay, so you're going to start tomorrow. I'm like, well, I guess so.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
have a job, so might as well do something. And then, that started my career as a driver. Once
Wow.
once I finished the 5-week program, I applied to two different companies. One was Schneider National. The other one was, I have no idea.
Uh-huh.
And it was 30 years ago. I have no idea. And so I went for my interview for Schneider and they're like, so you're going to go to Green Bay tomorrow. I'm like,
Oh, it's
okay. I didn't
snowing
have any
too, I'm
clothes or anything.
sure.
So,
Right, it's probably
um,
snowing, I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
So we drove to Green Bay. I had a week with Schneider and
Uh-huh.
they were a great company for me.
Mhm.
So I pair you up with another new person, and
Mhm.
I had been paired up with somebody that I had gone to Green Bay with, and that didn't work out. I won't get into that because it's a sordid story.
Okay.
We don't want to go into that because it does
No.
it doesn't reflect very well on the other person. And then when I brought the truck back and dropped the person off, then I met the person who's now my husband, and we've been together for 30 years.
Aw, I love that
Yeah,
story, that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Love
So we were
timed at
really
work.
fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So throughout my career, I've done a whole bunch of different stuff. I didn't only drive whenever there was an opportunity to, because my mother was a bacteriologist and my father was a chemical engineer, so
Okay.
my mother taught
Mhm.
me to be able to do whatever I wanted to do. And
Mhm.
if anything that I didn't know how to do, I could always learn or teach myself. I taught myself how to type, like
Wow.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
um, all of those things. I think that setting yourself up for possibilities
Mhm.
and always looking to learn and learn something new. If you don't learn something new every day, or
Mhm.
at least every week for sure. I mean,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
if you're not learning something pretty frequently, I think that we become stagnant, and that's even as a driver. If
Mhm.
if you're not open to different ways of doing things, then
Mhm.
I think that you become kind of set in your ways, and that's not good for safety, really,
Mhm.
because people that have been driving for a really long time, they're like, "Oh, I know what I'm doing. You can't tell me what to
Right, and then
do,"
something
you know,
happens, right?
and
And
then
then all
something
of a
happens.
sudden yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Well, that's pretty amazing. I love that advice, Laura, that you really have to continue to learn to keep inspiring yourself. So, you're a real inspiration. I mean, I know you are to the industry and you are to females and you are to just youth in general. And what really it sounds like you had, parents that really instilled the belief in you, but where does that inspiration come from to learn? Where does that come from for you?
I think it's just the culture that I had growing up.
Mhm.
Even so, my mother was a bacteriologist. she was in the 60s, which,
Mm.
you know, at that time, it was not, science was not a profession that
No,
women entered into.
ever.
So when she started after college, when she got her first job, they basically just let her clean test tubes instead of actually
Wow.
doing bacteriology. And she said,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I'm not going to stand for that." So she quit that, and she was the manager of a Hex. So it's
Mm.
I don't even know if they have Hex anymore, but it's kind of like a
Mhm.
Macy's. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah,
Mhm.
so she was in the fine apparel, like women's fine apparel department. And so she was doing that until she had me, and then she was a full-time mother, you know. And I think that especially people that have kids, I think it's so
Mhm.
important to have story time to read to your
Oh.
kids, you know, because that
Mhm.
starts this whole thing, you know. It's
Mm.
and I know it's easy for, you know, just giving somebody a device and letting them do whatever they're
Mhm.
going to do, but
Mhm.
having that one-on-one connection, being able to talk about what's happening in the story, I think
Mhm.
all of those things are inspiring for the next generation, because if you don't have that one-on-one connection, I think we're losing it more and more every day, unfortunately,
Oh,
you know, because if you're not meeting with people, and Zoom is great, or, you know, any
yeah.
kind of electronic platform is great, but I think
Uh-huh.
that that one-on-one connection and that conversation with the next person
Mhm.
is really just critical. You know, I was looking through some pictures recently,
Mhm.
and so many of them, of my family, are you know, having a conversation over the dinner table,
Oh, I
you
love
know.
that.
And I think that,
Mhm.
you know, whether it's friends and family, whether it's just the family, you know, it doesn't matter. We had a lot of parties where we would congregate, you know, and we
Mhm.
would you know, of course, have fun too, but that
Mhm.
one-on-one connection, I think it's good for us as a society to be able to do that,
Mhm.
you
I
know.
love that.
And my mother was always welcoming too. So then, even from a young age,
Mhm.
we welcomed anybody that didn't have another place, you know. So
Mhm.
that was really critical for keeping an open mind about people that are different than you, you know.
Mhm.
One of the things that I loved about going to Carnegie Mellon was, you know, I came from a small town in southern Pennsylvania, a little tiny
Mhm.
farming town.
Mhm.
So we pretty much had all the same people all around, you know. And it was great for me, even because I'm a Unitarian Universalist. So even that, you know, being involved with the Unitarian Church, you know,
Mhm.
going to meet people in Philadelphia and be exposed to people with different beliefs and different ways of seeing the world, different
Mhm.
realities. I think that that's so critical to people, you know. And it makes me sad that people don't want to do that anymore,
Mhm.
because as you talk to people that aren't from the same reality as yours or the same
Mhm.
upbringing,
Mhm.
you see life from a different perspective. And I think that
Mhm.
that's so critical, because otherwise we become kind of we set in the ways that we see the world,
Mm.
because it's
Mhm.
all filtered through our experiences, you know. And the more people that we can, from diverse backgrounds, that we
Mhm.
can talk to, I think
Mhm.
that that allows us to kind of like alter our picture of reality, instead of it being so set in what we're just used to.
Yeah, that's
You agree with that?
exactly. This idea of human connection for learning is so critical, right? And it starts like for you, it started at a very early age, but to have that being fostered and ongoing to open up new worlds and new perspectives is critical. It's critical learning and growth in life and just being able to connect with people all over. So I really appreciate that. So when you think about that, then what do you think? You've been a driver, you went to college, you've had all these different experiences. Ultimately, what if you were to design the most engaging learning experience for you, what would that look like? What do you think really truly engages people into learning?
Well, I think the key to that would be desire to learn,
Mm,
or the important, you know, recognizing the importance of learning. Because even if you're just reading fiction, you're always learning something about something, you know.
mhm,
And then you can
mhm.
Google anything, you know. These days things are a lot easier than back in the Encyclopedia
Right,
Britannica days,
right.
you know.
Yes, exactly. Going to the library, Laura. We had to go to the library.
I know. It's
Mhm,
full back there. So,
mhm,
but yeah. So anything that you're reading, even if you're, you know, not focusing on kind of one subject, and
mhm,
being diverse in the subjects that you're reading and that you're consuming, I think that's really important. And what kind of concerns me about algorithms, especially with
mhm,
Facebook and stuff like that, is
mhm.
that the content that you're viewing is curated by AI essentially, and
Mhm.
that's kind of
Mhm.
disturbing to me, just because the more you consume, the more of that content you're consuming or being
Mhm.
delivered,
Mhm.
and that leads, I think, sometimes to
Mhm.
closed-mindedness, which
Mhm.
I think that we shouldn't do. I think
Mhm.
it's really important to kind of have that diversity of knowledge or education as well, because
Mhm.
there are so many different, I guess, experiences in life that
Mhm.
we could not even conceive of if we hadn't
Mhm.
been exposed to it?
Right, exactly. And I think your point of going out and being connected to the world and being connected to people and just seeing what you're being in tune to with your mind, like being very aware of where your mind is at, because the content, you're right. I mean, you could be seeing the world through a filter that may not be positive or even a reality of what is needed. So I really appreciate that perspective. And so when you think about authenticity, I've done a lot of research over my several decades of learning research of authenticity. And I'm really interested in getting people's perspectives who inspire others for learning. What would you say? How would you define authenticity? And what does that? I have a sense, I think I know what you're going to say, but what would you say when you define what authenticity means to you in a learning experience?
So, what is authentic? That's my
Mhm.
question, right? Because of what we're consuming, how do we know that it's authentic? Unless we've experienced it, we don't know that it is true. And I
Mhm.
think that basically my conception of authenticity is getting, and this is something that my mother taught me as well, getting both
Mhm.
sides of a certain subject or
Mhm.
topic or whatever, look, kind of researching the things that are surrounding that topic or
Mhm.
different viewpoints on a certain topic or a different way of life, and then pretty much like somewhere in the middle is usually what's authentic, right? And you have to make that call as a person. What makes sense to you? What sounds right to you? If there's something that you're reading and it's like, that doesn't seem like that should be a thing, or
Mhm.
that seems like an evil thing that's coming up, anything
Uh-huh.
like that. If you I think listening to our hearts and our minds,
Mhm.
to confirm whether something seems like it should be is part of that when we are learning, because we're all filtered, like our reality is filtered by what we've experienced, what we've read, and all this kind of stuff. You like
Exactly,
that?
exactly. No, that's fantastic. I think it just brings up this idea of authenticity. You always need to be curious and inquisitive about what you're learning. And if you have a sense that something's not right, pay attention to that, right? I mean, you have to
Right.
listen to your intuition and what you know. And I think as we're learning, there's always been things in our learning experience that we've all had that maybe has had an impact on us. And maybe there was something that you saw that maybe wasn't authentic, that you're like, hey, wait, this had an impact on my thinking. So maybe you could share with the group and everyone listening if there's been, what was there some like point in your life or time that something had an impact on the way you saw the world and how you and left an impact on your thinking?
I would say when I first became involved with other people from not where I was.
Mm.
So, I started traveling really early in life because I was a
Mhm.
musician. So I started playing viola. I was real young, but at 12 was the
Mhm.
first time that we toured Europe with it
Wow.
with a symphony. I did it twice, once when I was 12, once when I was 17.
Mhm.
And not only being exposed to the other people from different areas, being exposed to people in Europe, which is a different culture altogether, and then
Mhm.
being exposed to different countries that you're visiting as well. I think that kind of opened my eyes to the different realities,
Mm.
different experiences that people have had. So
Mhm.
because I started kind of interacting with people not from where I was
Mm.
so early, because I was involved in music, and I did, I think 10, 12, 13, somewhere around there,
Mhm.
I actually went to a music, it was one of those music summer programs down in
Oh,
Sarasota. I stayed with my
yeah.
grandmother,
Mhm.
and so, being on the coast of Sarasota and being exposed to all these different people, that started it. And then
Got it.
I've always been interested in people and kind of how they grew up and what makes people
Mhm.
tick and all of those things. And I don't know, you don't know me very well, but I'm a
Mhm.
I'm a questioner, you know.
Yeah. No, I
Like,
think I think I knew that. I think I knew that about you. Mhm.
but especially if
Mhm.
I'm attending a conference or something, I'm like, I need a little bit of clarification. I'm going to ask the question. And I think that
Yes.
that it's really important, and we were talking about inspiration earlier and being
Yeah.
inspiring to other people, that I think it's really important for other women, especially, or people that in
Mhm.
minority positions, or people that feel that they don't have a voice, to see
Mm.
somebody boldly going into the unknown. And maybe that
Yes.
could be my tagline.
Yes, I love that. Laura, this like goes directly to the article I wrote about having a mind of a champion, because really what you're describing is having the confidence to know that you have this ability to ask questions. And so I love that. That is so pivotal for so many people who feel either underheard or underseen or not valued. It's so powerful. And so I think about that a lot.
And I think that's really the key to learning, isn't it?
Mhm.
By questioning, you find out different things, and you find out that other thing, and then it leads you to something else. You don't want to go down the rabbit hole of the dark web or anything. But if
Right.
you don't ask these questions, and you don't feel that you have the voice or the confidence to do that, if there's anything that I would like to kind of give to the next generation, is
Mhm,
having the confidence to be able to ask those questions and not ask for permission. And
mhm.
this has gotten me into trouble in one of my other companies before, because I think
Uh-huh.
it's really important. If you identify something that needs to be fixed and you don't say anything about it, that's on you. If there's
Right,
something that would benefit the organization that you
right.
identify, bring
Mhm,
it up. The only
right.
way that we can improve is to continually question and continue to improve. And that's one of the things that I love about my company, is
Mhm,
because they do value, and I'm not always right, but
mhm.
if we don't ask the question, then we can't improve, and we can't kind of progress as a company.
Exactly. Having that transparency, and not only the transparency, but having the confidence and the safeness to feel that you can share is so critically important. And I
I think
think,
that
yeah.
Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that women more than men innately have a confidence. And I
Mhm.
think that women feel that maybe they don't. And maybe that's because, in business we haven't had a big role, and except for lately, we've been
Mhm.
kind of worming our way in. I like it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I
We have
get
we
it.
have more CEOs, we have
Mhm.
we have we have more confident, powerful women,
Mhm.
in higher, positions, not only in the
Mhm.
government and in businesses and all that kind of stuff. And actually, I was just at the ATA, and my associate is like, I don't see any women that have been former chairs of the ATA. So maybe we'll
Uh-huh.
we'll we'll make
Maybe.
inroads there at
We'll
some
do
point.
that. We'll work towards that, Laura,
I
won't
know.
we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that that's really important because we have all of these great, powerful female role models in the
Mhm.
industry and in our society that we can look up to. But I think it's really important for women
Absolutely.
to have that confidence to not say, well, what if I'm wrong, or what if, nobody likes what I say, or what
Mhm.
if, and to feel confident that you should be you. And
Right.
that's something that I like to kind of give people the space to be able to be whoever they want to be in our
Mhm.
society, and really, it doesn't matter, as long as you're happy with your reality and what you're projecting into society. Now, there could be
Mhm.
consequences based on what you're projecting into society, of course,
Mhm.
but you have to feel confident in the way that you want to present to society, and
Mhm.
you should feel that nobody should tell you how to do that, how to boldly go
Exactly.
forth in life, you know?
Exactly. Just having that confidence to feel like you can move forward is so critical. And I know that this is probably either something that you've experienced helping youth or helping the drivers, being in all the experiences you've had, or maybe you yourself, maybe there's been a time in your life where there was a hurdle that you had to overcome, and you a learning hurdle and you overcame that, or maybe you helped one of the drivers or a youth or something overcome. Can you share an example where maybe somebody was feeling not confident enough to ask that question or to connect with someone, and how you help them move forward so that they felt better coming out of that
Sure.
situation?
Sure, and I don't know if you know, but the American Trucking Association just formed the Women in Motion mentorship program, and of course, Women
Yes.
in Trucking has mentorship and stuff,
Mhm.
and the Women in Trucking Advisory Board. So women are like on the forefront right now in the last couple of
Mhm.
years, and I love that. But I think that mentorship is really important. So I did have a mentee, and I'm really busy, so I feel really bad for not connecting a little bit more. But I think that she was really excited about me
Mhm.
giving her the space to realize that she can do whatever she wants to do, because
Mhm.
I think that so many women, they like shoot themselves in the foot because they're like, well, what'll happen if I fail? I think failure
Mhm.
is important, isn't it? Because we
Exactly.
learn from failure. The
Mhm.
more that we fail, the more that we learn, really.
Mhm.
And just because we fail doesn't mean that we shouldn't try again.
I'm
you
gonna
know
quote you on that. That's gonna be my
okay.
quote. That's
Fantastic.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, because and so many people are afraid of failure, but I think that we should embrace it, because you hear stories, inspiring stories, not only
Mhm.
from women but from men as well, about how that failure just fueled their fire to be
Mhm.
better, or to do
Mhm.
things differently, or to innovate.
Mhm.
That fire of learning drives innovation. I think that because
Mhm.
we have freedoms in this country, we also have the space to innovate.
Mhm.
And because most of our population is not oppressed like some other places in the world,
Mhm.
that has driven innovation just traditionally in the American public. And I think that that's so important, because if we don't have the space to have the confidence to be able to come up with new ideas and new things, and not only for ourselves. I'll just keep
Yes.
going and going and going. No,
No,
not
I
only for
love
ourselves,
it.
but that collaboration is so important
Uh-huh.
too, isn't it? Because
Oh.
collaborating between individuals gives
Mhm.
gives you so much more fuel for that fire of innovation,
Yes.
and without that, I
Together.
think that we lose something.
We do, because together we're so much better, aren't we? I have that on my LinkedIn because I feel it when we work together, and we can accomplish so much when we do that. And so a lot of times people will reach out to me that listen to the podcast, or they hear me speak, and they say, you know what, Gina, I've lost my passion to learn. I've lost my drive. I'm depressed. I don't know what to do. What would you say to the person that's listening today? You're such an inspiration, and I just feel that you have so much to share. If someone out there today has lost their passion to learn, what would you say to them?
Stay busy and help others. I think
Oh, I love that.
that's my my new tagline. We've had some things going on with my family, and I think that that's really
Uh-huh.
important, because if we wallow in despair,
Mhm.
it's really interesting, right? I don't know if you've probably seen this, but there have
Mhm.
been studies done that people that focus on negative, that's all
Good
that they start
time.
to see.
Mhm.
And focusing on the positive, we will become less depressed, because we're focusing on positive instead of focusing on negative. And if we continue to focus on the negative, we'll only see the negative in reality. And I think that that part of it is so critical, because if you want to change your reality and how you see the world, start
Mhm.
focusing on the positive in life instead of what's happening in Israel, and all the wars that are around us, and all of, it's if you wallow in that despair and don't try to change your small piece of your community or whatever, then
Mhm.
you're going to continue to wallow in despair. So I think that as individuals, we can, individually or together or collaborating, we can make a difference in this world. One of the groups that I'm involved in is the Savannah Professional Women for Good. I don't know if you've heard about this,
No, but
but
I just love the name to begin with. They're doing good things.
yeah, so it's actually called the Network for Good. So
Oh.
it is women in
Mhm.
different cities all over the United States getting together, pooling their money, and it's $100 contribution every quarter. Okay, so it's
Uh-huh.
not a whole lot of money, but you
Mhm.
pull your money, And basically, you have people within your community um, recommending nonprofits that need extra funding. So you're
Mhm.
taking this chunk of money and you're giving it to somebody that is locally in your community for
Mhm.
good. They're going to use
Aw.
it for good. Like
Mhm.
some of the people we've had. So I think we've had 3 or 4 cycles now,
Mhm.
and the first one, and they have it in Chattanooga, they have it in Dallas, they have it all over the United States. I saw a TED talk on
Awesome.
it. And I'm like, this is
Oh,
amazing. Because
yes.
something like 95% of all of the donations for nonprofits go to the top 5% of
Yeah.
nonprofits in the United States,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I think that that's terrible. We should be
Mhm.
funding nonprofits in our own communities. And not only are we able to do that, but we're also finding out about those nonprofits that are trying to do good in your own local community. So I just love this platform. And then you get to connect with other professionals in your area as well.
That's
And yeah,
outstanding.
it's a movement. It's a
Yes.
movement. I'm really excited.
Well, I love Laura's movement of positivity, and look, I'm with her on that because if you're thinking bad thoughts, research would say if you say something negative out loud, it's 10 times more likely to be impactful in your negative thinking. So it's really important that we stay positive. You focus your mind on good things, do good things, connect with good people like Laura. Laura, what are the final thoughts you want to leave us with today? And tell everyone, if you're not connected to Laura on LinkedIn, definitely be connected because she's always doing good things. Laura, what would you like to leave us with today?
Stay busy and help people. Yeah.
Awesome. How can people reach you if they want to connect with you? How can they reach you?
Sure, I'm on LinkedIn. And you can always message me on there. I think that my email address is on there, but just letting you know, my email is blowed up the last couple of days.
Oh, so give her a break, everyone. Don't reach out for at least a week. She just got back and she's going to be leaving again. Well, Laura, thank you for spending time with me today. You are an inspiration for all in transportation. I appreciate you and keep doing good things and stay busy.